It's not a fun read, but it's a very, very good read. It might have not been the best decision I've made on my part that I had to hunt down the Special Fairy Loot edition. I've just realised that I have quite a lot of favourites this year. Hello lovely bookworms, I'm Esmay from Paradise of Pages on Instagram and also on Twitter, and welcome to a new video, a new December dash, a new Christmas countdown. Today I'm going to be talking about my favourite books of 2020, and it's quite a list. These are all 5-star books that I've read. There's some quite big ones and I love all of them equally. So without further ado, let's just get into it. So the first book that I actually want to talk about is a book by my all-time favorite author, and that is The Beautiful by Renee Ahdieh. I read this book this year, I'm going to stop saying that now, and I actually didn't expect too much because of the fact that this is sort of portrayed as a vampire book, and I'm not the vampire type. I like Twilight, but that's basically where it ends. I'm not a vampire girl. I don't like it that much, but this one doesn't have that many vampires, so I don't mind that too much, and I just loved the characters so much. The romance in here is just angsty and enemies to lover-ish, and I love it so much. I am actually a little bit scared of the second one, which is right behind me, because I know that it is not, well, it might not be as good as this one, because I've heard mixed reviews, but nonetheless, I loved this one, and this is definitely a 5-star read from 2020. So next up is also a new author that I have discovered, and this book is just as amazing as the one that I just talked about, and that is Serpent Dove by Shelby Marin. I actually read this book earlier this year and reread it a little bit ago because I'm getting ready for Blood and Honey. Once again, a little bit scared of Blood and Honey, but this is basically about a girl named Louise, who is a witch, and she finds herself sort of tied up in a tricky situation, so to say. She has to get married to a guy who hates witches and even hunts them, and that's basically where the story starts. This is the best enemies to lovers book I've read in a long time. I love it so much, and how stunning is that cover, guys? I'm obsessed with it. It's just beautiful, and I think you would love it just as much as I did if you haven't read it yet already, because I think everyone has read it at this point. Okay, so next up is a book I don't own, and that is In an Absent Dream by Shannon McGuire. This one is actually, I think, the 4th or the 5th book in the Wayward Children series, and this follows, I think it follows Lundy, and this is by far my favorite. I like the Wayward Children series, but this one is the best out of the ones that I've read, and I've read all of the ones that are out at this moment. I loved it. I'm so excited for the next one, which should be coming out somewhere next year. It's just so well written, and I loved the world that Lundy found herself in, and I loved her backstory. It was just so amazing. I can definitely recommend going on from the first book and then just moving onwards. I actually read them in a little bit of a weird, well, chronological order, because I was interested in another story over another one, which wasn't technically a problem, but it might have not been the best decision I've made on my part, but I can definitely say you can, but please read them in chronological order. That's better. Anyway, I loved that series and loved In an Absent Dream. So next up is a book that didn't really surprise me, but on the other hand did. I read a duology by this author about a year or a little bit over a year ago, and when this book came out I was interested, but I wasn't super hyped, if that makes sense. But then I read it. I actually read the audiobook, and I was so in love with it that I had to hunt down the Special Fairy Loot edition, and that is The Shadows Between Us by Tricia Levenseller. As you can see, I have the purple edition. I think this one is also, or at least it's either signed. Yeah, it is also signed. I love this book. I have reread it since the first time physically as well. It is not that big, and it's a standalone, which surprised me, but this is definitely one of my absolute favorite standalones I've ever read. This is basically, I think what I really like about this, I'll read the synopsis, or at least part of it, because I think this is hilarious and exactly what the book is about, hence why it's the synopsis. But anyway, Alessandra is tired of being overlooked, but she has a plan to gain power. 1. Woo the king. 2. Marry him. 3. Kill him and take his kingdom for herself. I just love it so much. It is so dark and so twisted and so in a good way. It's all in a good way. And also the fact that in general it is so good. And I also at one point, because I think literally the first sentence of the book is something like, I killed my first love and no one's ever gonna find him. Something along those lines. Let me see what it was. They've never found the body of the first and only boy who broke my heart, and they never will. So those are the first 2 sentences of this book, and it's just I love the revelations in here. I loved every bit of it. It was so chaotic in all the good ways possible, and even talking about it gets me excited to reread it. So I might do that next year. I will probably do that next year, let's be honest. And it was such a good book, and I can definitely recommend it. Don't expect overarching worlds and world building. This is definitely plot and character driven, but in all the good ways. Next up is a book that broke my heart into 60,000 pieces, and also the second book in a trilogy, and I've not yet read the third one. I will probably do that soon because it is out now, but the book that I'm talking about today is Kingsbane by Claire Legrand. I actually have a review of this up on the channel somewhere. I think it's a spoiler-free review, and if you remember, this one keeps sliding out, so I'm gonna try and hold it like this for now because it looks a little bit prettier. This is the second book in the... Ooh, sorry, I just kicked you guys. I kicked my little tripod. This is actually, I think, the second book in the Imperium trilogy. The last one, which is Lightbringer, has been out for over a month now, and I'm so scared that I'll probably read it somewhere next year. The first one, Furyborn, was also one of my absolute favorites, but I think I like this one even more. The way in which these books are written is so incredible. So basically you follow 2 characters. You follow Riel and you follow Eliana? Now I'm doubting myself. Yes, Eliana. And they both live in a different time period, and you switch between those. Every other chapter is a different time period and a different storyline, though they all connect together at some point. And this book, really, the only thing I can say is good things. I loved it. It is massive. But I think I read this one pretty quickly once I actually got into it because I was so scared, and rightfully so, because the end broke me. But it is such a good book, and I think the trilogy in general is gonna break my heart, but Claire Legrand can do that. She's allowed to break my heart. It's all good. I just love this one. I think I read this one earlier in the year, I think March or February, and it's still very, very clear in my mind, and that usually only happens when I really, really love a book. I've just realized that I have quite a lot of favorites this year and new favorites, so it's a good year, guys. It's a good year. So next up is a book that I don't think is a good read, but definitely no, I'm saying this wrong. It's not a fun read, but it's a very, very good read, and that is The Poppy War by R.F. Kong. I only have good things to say about this book. But let me start by saying that this is heavy. It is very, very heavy. If you're a young reader, I cannot recommend this book because it's gruesome, it's painful, there's war, there's blood, but it's also very detailed. And I don't think, if you're someone who is very sensitive to that, whether you're a young reader or not, I can't recommend this book because I was really, really nauseous at multiple times throughout this book. That said though, it was an amazing read. It was so well written and so rounded and so, how do you even say it, like so well done. Even though it hurt me to the pit of my being multiple times while reading it, I think it is one of the best books I've ever read. I love our main protagonist. I forgot her name. Rin. I knew that. And I am scared to go into the second one. I have the second one already, and the Burning God, which is the third one, is also out, I think, at this point. But I'm frightened to go into them. So I've not read the second one yet. I think I'm going to put that on my TBR soon. I should definitely get to it, but it was definitely amazing, and I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil anything, but I can tell you that if you don't mind a high fantasy, very heartbreaking plot, go for this one. The world building is amazing, the magic system is amazing, just in general the pace of the book. It's not a fast-paced book, but it's so well done, and I can't rave about this enough. It is amazing and painful. Just saying that in one sentence because it's amazing and painful. So many books this year have been so different on the end of the spectrum, yet all of them 5 stars. Like, one of them is just an amazingly fun and good read and fast read, which is a 5-star, and then there's books like this that are just so incredibly fast and difficult in a way, but also very, very, very good. It's just, I love it when books do that. I just love it. So there's 3 more books on that list, but 2 of them are in the same series, so I'm gonna save that for last. And also one that I've read this year, and I don't think I've talked about this a lot, is We Hunt the Flame by Hafsa Faizal. The next one, We Free the Stars, which I think is the final one in this duology, is coming next year. I think it had been first put somewhere this year as a release, I think, but now it's coming next year. And this one I also read earlier in the year, and this is exactly up my alley. This is also a sort of desert vibey book, and anything desert vibed, this girl is living, absolutely living. Our main protagonist, she's amazing. I love Zavira. Is it Zavira? Yeah, it's Zavira, just checking. And Nazir. Nazir and Altair. I love everyone in this book. These characters are so sassy that I want to aspire to be like them. They are truly sort of the existential bits of my being that are living right now. That is a very weird sentence, but I love it. I also really love the plot. So basically, Zavira has to go somewhere to save the kingdom, and Nazir is sent away by his father to, I think, also save the kingdom or do something for the kingdom. I'm not completely sure. And Altair, who is his sort of frenemy, I would call him, joins him on his adventure, and at one point, that's where the adventure starts. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil books. Just read the synopsis and pick it up because it's amazing if you haven't read it already. I keep saying it again. Already. Because I think you've probably already read it. And it is just so good. And I really, really want to reread this before We Free the Stars is here, which I've already pre-ordered and I'm so excited for. And breathe, Esmay. I love this book. It's one of my all-time favorites, and I cannot recommend this enough. Love it. Absolutely love it. 2 more books. 2 more painful books. 2 more crying rounds. 2 more books that have changed my reading expectations, and 2 books that I think will forever be among my favorites, and 2 books that are part of my favorite trilogy. And you've probably had some guesses at this point. I will show you the sides of them, and I will now talk about what they are. The 2 books that are left on my list, and the ones that I've read this year, I've read both of these this year, which is astounding, are The Kingdom of Copper and The Empire of Gold. These 2 have saved me this year and also broke me. This one is so heavy, I can barely hold it. These books and this trilogy, I'm gonna put one down. Just imagine both of them here. This series, this trilogy, The City of Brass, the Day of Abad trilogy is perfect. It is everything I want in a book. Heartbreak, romance, political intrigue, desert vibes, pain, myths, magic, heartbreaking, and just, it's beautiful. I've read both of these books this year, and I've read The City of Brass last year. And I'll talk about The City of Brass a little bit because I don't want to spoil anything that's in this one or in The Empire of Gold. Basically, what this is about, or what The City of Brass is about a girl named Nari who at one point finds herself in a very tricky situation and conjures a djinn. And she conjures Dara Yavush, and he takes her to the City of Brass. He takes her to Day of Abad, and there her story starts. I think these books are so well done. It's also probably because of the fact that they're huge, but this is definitely one of my absolute favorite trilogies. I can't wait to see more in this world, because I think that S.A. Chakraborty has said that she might want to do more in this world, and yay, I'm all for it, please do, because I need more. And other than that, I'm not going to say too much. It's basically so full of adventure, myth, lore, everything in between, that if you like any of the above, you will love these. They are not small books, they are not easy to read, but they're definitely one of my favorites. I can also definitely recommend the audiobooks. They're all on SCRIBD. If you want to test out SCRIBD, there's always a link down below, by the way, for 60-day trial. And I love them. I actually read most of the last one via audiobook because of the fact that it was so big and I was so scared of it, and then it didn't go fast enough, so I picked up the book and read the rest. But they're amazing. The audiobooks are also amazing. I can definitely recommend them, and I think you would love these just as much as I do. So these were all of the books that I've put on my most favorites list. These are all 5-star reads for me. I do have quite a couple of books that I've really enjoyed and gave 4 stars, such as Warrior of the Wild, Sky in the Deep, and I know there's more like those, but I wanted to stick to the 5-star reads, the full-fledged favorites, and these are definitely the recommendations I can give from the ones that I've read this year. And they're all, I think, in a range of different fantasy. Also, something that I do want to say for favorites wise, definitely pick up Agatha Christie if you want a mystery book or a murder mystery book, because those are amazing. Especially the Poirot books are a personal favorite and I love all of them. And those were all of the books that I wanted to talk about today. As I said, it's quite a list. I'm very content with my reading this year, or at least the stars that I can give. I'm also nearly on 100 books by the time I'm filming this, so I'm pretty sure I can hit the 100 mark before the year is up, which boggles me and blows my mind. I've read so much, I'm pretty proud of myself. That said, thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and press that little bell icon so that you get post notifications every single time that another December Dash or Christmas Countdown video goes live. And I hope to see you guys in the next one. Bye!